According to the official account, this morning, Alexei Navalny was taking a walk that he immediately began to feel unwell, quickly lost consciousness, that prison medical staff reacted, but that they were unable to revive him and that he died. One of Navalny's top aides said this is, if it is true, and we don't know if it's true, and his lawyer is on his way to the penal colony now, that it is not a case of Navalny died, but Putin killed Navalny.
And so, as you can see, one of the most persistent and powerful, brave critics of Vladimir Putin and his regime has passed. Alexei Navalny died while incarcerated in a Russian prison. He was 47 years old and had served for a number of years as one of the figureheads and most outspoken leaders of the opposition movement against Vladimir Putin. If you're not familiar with him, his struggle with Putin became significantly more difficult following the 2020 alleged poisoning that he experienced while on an airplane, a Soviet-era neurotoxin popular with the security service of Russia, apparently used against him. He suffered as a result of that for some time, survived the poisoning, but was arrested in 2021 on alleged charges including extremism, embezzlement, and fraud. He was facing a 19-year sentence in a maximum security prison, and he and his team for some time have been trying to publicize how absolutely horrendous the conditions are inside of those maximum security prisons. And as you saw in that video, apparently he had been taking a walk and felt unwell. And yesterday on video, he actually looked and sounded perfectly healthy. And so this came as a shock to the world. Not a shock that doesn't have any potential explanations considering his history and who his enemy is. But we want to give you a bit of a response from his wife, now widow, who spoke at the Munich Security Conference shortly after news of Alexei Navalny's death broke.
If it is true, I want Putin and all his allies, all his friends, his government, I want them all to know that they would be held responsible for what they have done with our country, with my family, with my husband. They will be held responsible for that, and that day would come very soon.
The widow being very clear there about where she thinks responsibility lies. And over the last few hours, both the president and vice president have also been clear about who they think is to blame.
We've all just received reports that Alexei Navalny has died in Russia. And if confirmed, this would be a further sign of Putin's brutality. Whatever story they tell, let us be clear, Russia is responsible.
Reports of his death, if they're true, and I have no reason to believe they're not, Russian authorities are going to tell their own story. But make no mistake, Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Putin is responsible. What has happened to Navalny is yet more proof of Putin's brutality.
Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, I think it felt like the writing had been on the wall for Alexei Navalny. Obviously, he was in the crosshairs. That's what happens when you try to make a dictatorship a democracy. That's what happens when you do the simple thing of running against a dictator like Vladimir Putin. My heart goes out, obviously, to the Russian people who believe that they could have a better country than they currently do, one that consistently lies to them, gaslights them, and refuses to acknowledge any kind of opposition parties. I mean, the guy was a tank, man. The guy had survived the Novichok poisoning. He was at a penal colony in the Arctic Circle. I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I can't even wrap my brain around half of that. And the fact that he was well yesterday and then suddenly felt ill. I mean, we've seen this playbook before from Putin. I think it's really important for us to distinguish one thing, which is American response and ratcheting and sort of belligerence towards Russia with the real crime that this is. Meaning, I don't believe that our posturing against Russia helps anyone, let alone the Russian opposition. But I definitely think it is a chilling look into a future, and I know we'll talk about the Republicans in this country actually want for our nation, which is this kind of crackdown and open assassination of dissidents.
Trey?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was, gonna go with it too. I mean, that's exactly where my brain go. First of all, I mean, the bravery of this guy to be doing this in Russia, because all three of us, we rail against the authoritarian elements in this, as we perceive it, hellscape, right, all the time. But like we can do that still, for now we can do that. Like
right.
The things I've said about these people, the pointed and frankly hilarious insults I've lobbed at them over the years, from the sanctity of my Jeep in my driveway, and not face any real repercussions for it. And look, sometimes like I got a buddy that runs this great progressive blog called the Tennessee Holler, back in Tennessee, fighting the good fight. My friend runs that, and he was all over the Tennessee 3 story when it was happening in the middle of the night one night, and he posted about this as public knowledge now. Somebody like drove by and shot his house up at like 3 a.m. So sometimes things like that happen, and I find myself, questioning doing this here even now, right? So yeah. I'm just saying, I really give it up to this guy, to Alexei Navalny, for sticking with it in a country like Russia. And I mean, he paid the price, but like he walked the walk for sure. And I got all the respect in the world for that. But yes, as Francesca said, I'm terribly worried that if we don't watch it, if we, when it'll stay as vigilant as possible, we could end up in a similar position, because that's certainly how, the right in this country would like to see it go. So
yeah, it's he went back to Russia after he could have left. And it just it seems weird that you can have in the world people like him who, he didn't just like hypothetically was willing to die. He died. He gave up decades of his life for the minute chance that it would help his countrymen. Mm-hmm. And then you have people like, you remember it was resurfaced like a week or two ago, Ben Shapiro mocking the protester who died trying to protect Palestinians, was crushed under a bulldozer, and he mocked her as being stupid. Like, we have people like that for whom politics is as real as anything can be, who literally give up their lives for it. And then we have people who, this is all just a game. They mock protesters like that, Donald Trump mocking our soldiers, saying they're losers and suckers for giving up their life. Like, all of this is a game. The rhetoric and the culture wars that they go on, they're already rich and powerful. They're already wealthy. They have all the money that they could ever spend in their life. And it's all just fun and games. And then you have people struggling and dying to improve the lives of other people, people they don't even know. It's weird that one species can contain those multitudes.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.